begin with the flight path starting from Wosong all the way down to Ohyang. So that will be a pretty balanced flight path, I must say, for all the teams.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty comfortable. There's nothing wrong with that one. I think that more often than not, especially in the modern era of PUBG, plane paths aren't really that much of an issue unless it's like really bad. Like it has to be 0.1% bad. Back in the old days, I would make the argument that it had a bit more of a say on the game, teams even having alternative drop locations based on certain plane paths. But these days, I don't think it's as much of an issue. Teams are so well scouted. They know exactly where all the vehicles are. They know how to get to wherever they need to get to based on most plane paths. So yeah, pretty comfortable one to kickstart here for Tego. Look at the leaderboard. Vega at top, 16 points from the opening game. Yeah, Alcatera, very good game from them as well. I thought they looked pretty good by the end of week one. So one of those teams that taking a little bit of momentum and form coming into week two, and evidently that's worked out well so far to start. August in third, good game from them, solid. And they're going to be the kind of team where if they just keep getting, 10 to 12 points a game, yeah, they'll be towards the top once again. We saw that circle pop over towards the Northwest Island, and these are fun. These are scrappy. It is the nature of Tego. It's almost like two maps in one a lot of the times. Like you're only going to see Northwest Island or mainland. Very rarely do you get those kind of 50-50 circles between the two of them. You would think it would happen more often, but it probably doesn't happen as often as you would think. Usually you get just flat out, yeah, we're going to the Northwestern Island. That reduces the amount of space available and puts a lot of pressure on those bridges, on those positions to get to that island, because naturally there's only so many teams that land there in the first place.
And here's the man of the match from the first game. Is going to be empty here, coming in with 3 kills. And this was a fight that we kind of missed, which is the left side bridge of Jogo Pool, and they will play the gatekeeping role, and that's how they got their first elimination point before moving up to the high ground. So Vega, they started off by a little bit of a gatekeeping, gathering information while they're at it, and then they decided to move up north, playing as a trio. So that's a great adaptation to their gameplay earlier on. And now coming back into this game, now this is the circle that I really, really like. So it's going to be up north, and like what you said, choke points. There are teams that might play the gatekeeping role to stop teams from coming in. And most of the teams are actually on somewhat of a main peninsula, they always call it. And they all need to track up north. So it's going to be quite a challenge for all these other teams on the outside.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always a fun circle because you've got the challenge of just getting to good positions. Getting to the island is number one, then getting to a good position is number two. But you've got a lot of good positions on the island. So it's not like a case of, having to rush over. You've got the main hill terrain positions that you can play. You've got a couple of cities, one in the middle, one towards the edges, depending on how the circle's going to shift. So there's more than enough space for a 16-team lobby to all spread out for a phase 1 circle, for instance. But that usually doesn't even happen. More often than not, you'll still see quite a couple of straggling teams come in late and push the bridges late and try and play edge. So they'll make that decision rather early, especially the teams that are towards the very southeast part of the map of Tego. Depending, of course, if they've got pickup. Can they just get pickup and then take their way over the whole map? You'll see many teams will do that. The downside of that is always then you lose your vehicles. So if you go early enough, which we did see at least one team go for it, which was Zen Esports. If you go early enough and then you kind of fan out towards the west and northwest part of the island, there'll be plenty of vehicles that you can then go and get, plus extra loot if needed.
And you can also play with the high ground if you rotate in early as well. And you want to secure all those prime positions. Looking at the current situation, it looks like Crazy Dog almost got one target of his own, but it came really, really close before he lost it. I believe that was Xuan that actually went up north. But there are also other teams eyeing him. I can see on the minimap, he's being gunned down by some other team up north.
Yeah, I mean, that's, again, another factor with the pickups too. When you kind of parachute down, you're always going to be susceptible. So that's another reason why you don't, if you're going to go late with the pickup, and there's already like 10 teams on the island, yeah, you're going to be in some strife. You're going to get shot down. And that's early on, right? This was a pickup landing at around the 5-minute mark, and you're already getting almost shot out of the sky, which was the case for Juan. Luckily, stays alive. And we still have all 64 players in the server. Happy Squad, another team that's already on the Northwest Island, so they can just get a good position, little compound here, close by to their west. I think a team, again, that probably hasn't lived up to expectation based on the players that are on this squad. Just all about getting it all to click. One big game could certainly give them the platform to then build off and find momentum that they can then take forward for the rest of this event. This is where you don't want to be panicking. It's just match 2 of week 2, plenty of PUBG still to play. And so for them, it's just about backing in the quality that is on this team. Maybe you work on communication, and there's some strategy stuff that I'm sure you can certainly find a way to fix, because clearly they have got things that they do need to fix, but the quality is there that I think they can certainly turn it around.
And here's another team coming into the Northern Island, GSW. Looks like no team is going to stop them. No gatekeeping happening, and a lot of teams are actually focusing on to getting into the middle of the circle, which is okay, interesting. I thought that there would be teams playing the gatekeeping role at one of the bridges, but doesn't seem to be the case. Teams in this round so far, they aim to get the most of the high ground or prime positions. So they are kind of like throwing the dice to say that, okay, the circle will go up north, and let's see if that will happen. It'll be interesting if the circle actually goes all the way down south and they are all forced to move away from their high ground, and that's where we'll see all the chaos happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you naturally want to play the high ground to begin with first, and then if the circle shifts away and you do get that chaos that you're alluding to, then so be it, right? Like that, you just can't bank on those things happening or not happening. You just play to the strength that you can gain now. But that's why you don't want to put too much stock into phase 1. You got to have your backup plans, and teams will do that. They'll have already started to assess where they'll go based on potential circle shifts. If it centers up, if it goes west, if it goes south, like they've already got their next plans in place, so they're not going to be totally surprised. By the way, Kang is in tonight, which is Frame It Mog. The boys, of course, with their funny names once again, except for Niku's, Hikaban and Rip. So no Akita tonight for Monk. Kang is in.
I just like Frame Mock's profile picture. I thought it's really cool. Like, okay, everyone's like,
oh,
the
he's
usual,
Morgan.
Oh, the usual esports pose, and he's like, okay, I'll don a shade, I'll put in my headphones, and I'll be different from everyone else.
So watching Alcatara here, this is a good example. So the fact that there's usually a couple of teams that will come in late, they'll bring their vehicles, they won't pick up, either they didn't have it or don't want to use it because they want to play a different strategy. So they're essentially going to ride the wave, which is the blue wave as they come in, and then they're going to get to either one of the bridges or close to the bridges just as phase 2 starts. And then what that gives them is a bit of momentum to just keep on driving then based on that phase 2 circle pop information. So it may seem like, oh, they're coming in late, that's detrimental. It can be based on what phase 2 does, but sometimes it can turn into a positive thing. So they're just playing the circle as it's popped. And again, like for these guys knowing that, well, they loot towards the southeast of the circle. Well, pretty much actually they loot directly south. They kind of loot around Song Am. So they already will have played this how many times as a team on this map and seen this circle. They know full well what to do on this and how they like to play it. They'll be one of the last teams to come in. They'll rotate with the blue, and then they'll come in late and they'll see what phase 2 does and then play off of that information. So it's not like they're in a bad spot. You're never really in a bad spot unless you're underprepared. So it'll just be fun to see how that works. Now, where it can go wrong, bridge camps. You got a team like August that's kind of just in front of you. So what happens if they cross this bridge? They play around Yongcheon and they go for a bridge camp. Well, then that's where it can backfire. So that's where Alcatara is going to have to be really, really switched on here. And also if they've got backup plans in terms of how they want to rotate over. You could sit the blue if you want. There's only 18 seconds to go. You're not taking that much damage here in phase 1. See what phase 2 is going to bring. Fortunately, though, this is an easy scout for them because August have just rotated straight on through. They're not going to bridge camp, and they're going to wrap up towards the east. In fact, there's a train led by Monk. Then you got Unlucky. Then you got August all wrapping around that eastern side, and perfect for them as they get a northern circle shift. That's exactly what you want if you're Monk and Unlucky going into a circle pop like that.
Wow, and if you're one of the early rotators into that high ground, you have a big, big advantage for taking that prime position. Now it's all about defending it because there will be more teams that want to take over that particular position. Coming to Alcatera, yes, no team is going to gatekeep them. They're going to move up to the Northern Island unchallenged. The next team is going to be Armor. Like, is there going to be a team that's going to stop them from coming in? I guess not as well. So all 16 teams will be in the island. This will be a brawl to which team is able to get that high ground.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to overinvest, but it's a really good position for this circle because of the high ground, but also there's not really much else to go for. You're going to play the trees, which is really good in TPP now in terms of defensive. You can just sit behind the tree, use your camera to scout out. It's cheese, but it's just where the game's at the moment. And so you're going to have a lot of teams that are going to want these sort of positions, which does mean you're going to get some fighting. So you're going to get some center circle fighting around phase 2, phase 3, more often than not. There's still actually good positions towards the east and the west of the circle for phase 2. Teams coming in late, it can certainly then backfill in. But then you've also got other teams that are just then centered into the city because there's not anywhere else to go. So the north side is a little bit more vacant, but the downside of that is then if it does shift back south, you're pushing uphill. If you're pushing uphill, you're at such a disadvantage to anyone peeking over, taking those fights, using the high ground. So it's going to be a bloodbath of a circle, I think, even maybe as early as phase 3, certainly by phase 4.
Yeah, with the fact that we still have 64 players alive at this stage and they're still rotating around, I believe that phase 3 or maybe even phase 4, we'll see a lot of fights back to back for sure, and it'll be really, really exciting by then. Or maybe it's good to start right now with Sync, trying to get one target of its own in one of the players of Alcatera, and one of them seems to be caught behind that tree.
Yeah, Dip's in a bad spot here, but Zink can't be too eager to peek over and then lose his life. Landed some good tags. Unfortunately, though, Dip was able to get away. And he's going to just pull over and heal up. He's on 1 HP. He doesn't want to go any further. Akasari got knocked as well by Bombay. So forget phase 3, forget phase 4. It's starting to kick off even a little bit into phase 2. 12.5 minutes. And now the lobby just trying to fight for space. Losing Akasari doesn't help Zanchin's ability to get aggressive here. There's a decent gap. You can't really get up close, so then you're prone to potentially being peaked by other teams. Unlucky just got absolutely cleaned up, apparently. I didn't even really get to see where that was. I think it was on the north side when they were rotating in behind Monk. Either way, they're just gone, apparently, from 4-0.
Yeah, that was just unlucky for them. Well, I guess next round it is. Zanchin doing well so far. Sly Fox is the one. You can potentially get another one, and there you go. Alcatera, after a good first round, unfortunately this round eliminated by Zanchin, who was one of those teams who got eliminated early in the Rango match.
So center up a little to the south away from the water, not really too much of a surprise, but what this does is creates this death valley with this road splitting through the two mountainous terrains, at least the two predominant ones on the Northwest Island. And so you got Zen Esports in the middle of it. I don't know if that's really where you want to be, but if no one else makes their way there and they've got some good cover, they've got vehicles, they've got a safe location, it might actually bode well for them in the long run because there's not going to be any likelihood that they're going to get crashed. It's not a center compound. It's not super safe. So teams aren't naturally going to want to go there, which might limit the destruction on their position compared to what other center Death Valley positions might look like. So one to keep an eye on. The other thing is in terms of those two mountainous terrains on the left and right side of the Death Valley location is you're just going to get a lot of fighting, and it's looking like it'll be more of that eastern side around Alter Ego, Savage Men Esports, Zanshin, teams that eventually then are going to come out of Go Doc as well. But then you've got Monk, you've got August on the north side. They're most likely going to have to choose which side they want to go down. It's going to, even though it be a phase 3 circle, there's not too much space going into phase 4. So if you're not in a prior position now, you're definitely not going to get into one for phase 4.
Ooh, but look at the amount of teams on the southern side of the circle. We have ATO here, Happy Squad, and also Team Newbies. And Team Newbies, they're going to play the gatekeeping role. There's a chance that ATO and Happy Squad will need to move up north, and that's where Team Newbies will take advantage of the situation. But in preparation for that, so Happy Squad and ATO, they have to settle the score right here. Or maybe ATO just exit through the back, going up north from there. If they stay here, then they'll be locked in together with Happy Squad, and that's where Team Newbies might be the team that take the third-party advantage.
Yeah, potentially. And Team Newbies need to make sure that they don't get into another lull the way that they did week one. They ended so nicely on the Sunday, especially for week one, but the Friday and the Saturday kind of just left them too far behind the rest of the pack, and it cost them. Just don't want to see them go back into their shells and play passive PUBG, because when they looked a bit more expressive on the Sunday, they took a bit more gunfights, they looked a little bit more lively, and guess what? They got results. So they can't just go full passive mode. Yeah, not in a great spot right now, and you play to the game into the circle that is in front of you, but definitely don't want to see them once again kind of retreating or taking safe positions. Take some fights. Like, they've got some good gunners. 13 seconds till phase 4. The calm before the storm, well and truly, especially on which side this is going to go. If it senses up, like, you're just reducing space. If it goes one side, then one side's going to really miss out. North-south doesn't do a whole lot, but yeah, a little to the east. But what that does now is more than enough to those that are, a little to the west. Those on the east now, even though it's not a full shift to the west, they've lost so much of their terrain. That mountain becomes so much more unplayable now. There's not a lot of space. And so you got to make the decision. And this also probably goes into what the position of Zen Esports is in right now, is they might get crashed as teams make their way down that hill and wanting to take some more space down the hill rather than being able to maintain on top, which is exactly what Vega and Shadow Esport are about to fight for. Like, they're the only two teams towards that western side of the circle, so they could split it up if they want. One goes a little more towards the north, one goes to the little towards the south. There's space for both of them, but there's not anything else. Most of the fighting now for this phase 4 circle is going to be on this eastern side and the north side as well. Yeah,
and we have at least 4 teams here, and this fight is breaking out right now with Monk in a really tough position. I think they only have probably one player left at this moment. Yep, there's 2 players left, but they're being pinned down by at least 2 or 3 different teams, so it's going to be really difficult. Xeno takes a lot of damage, still able to win that fight, and now he has that space to heal up before anything else happens.
Yeah, quick reaction from Xeno to just turn around and get that spray down. Xiaofeng knocked down by High Command, who also got the kill on the show. And this is not going to be the only battle. Goes without saying. The south side as well is going to see a lot of heavy action. Vega and Shadow, by the way, split up, so they're not going to be fighting on that western side. Xiaofeng's going to get eliminated by Hiker, and Newbies do get aggressed upon. They get wiped out by Happy Squad. No points in 2 games for Team Newbies after being the team that won the very last game of week 1. And I thought they were starting to make some inroads, but they've kind of just gone back to that lull that they were in for the majority of week 1. Quiet, passive, getting aggressed on. Teams taking fights to them not taking fights to other teams. This Monk also will get eliminated, as High Command did go down to Xeno, who had a pretty good couple of minutes just then. A couple of kills, got some heals, and in the end gets eliminated by Kamels. Shadow Esport pushed from western side up to the north side. Vega kind of maintained on that west side. Shadow Esports will benefit because they're starting to get some kills. So Vega will play the more quieter, safer position. Shadow will start to try and get some picks from their spot.
And Happy Squad really not letting go of ATO. But if we look at the minimap, Alter Ego sending Jimo to scout to see if maybe Alter Ego can take advantage of the situation. But now the focus is on the Happy Squad trying to land those frags in. Monty receives a bit of damage and he'll need time and space to heal up, but ATO, they're still being pinned down though. We switch over to the northern side now. Savage Man Esports in action.
All right, circle pop. What's this one going to bring for us? Heavy stack on the north side, goes a little to the south, right on top of NRG. Lunlun just got naded by Akasare from Zanshin. And Savage Men Esports are a good fragging team. They can play the edge well, but they've lost 2. Lunlun, Savior down. And so Zhu and Upchan need to try and salvage things for X-Men, because these are the kind of games they can actually do quite well in. Take these fights. They're a really good fragging team, as evident from that shot. Upchan hits the headshot onto Slyfox. Zanshin are eliminated in 10th. Top 8 on the cards for teams now on the bubble. Next team out, no placement points, and it might be Happy Squad. A 10 trip takes another nade. He's getting aggressed upon by ATO. They've got the 4 kills. Certainly a better performance than the first match. but it doesn't look like it's going to be a whole lot better. These nades just not connecting. He's kind of just throwing them down, split towards the middle, and he will get eliminated. Nade from Lobot will connect down to the 8 teams remaining here for match 2.
It was just a matter of time at that point. And now Zen Esports will need to deal with another team right in front of them. But looks like Oculus eliminated at number 8. Ooh, with 4 kills in this round. Not the best of performance for them, but then again, it's just a round, so they can still bounce back in the next one. Shadow Esports, Jack Z, right inside the circle, so the rest of his teammates can follow up. But here comes Zen Esports, going up against Savage Man Esports.
Oculus wanted to try and go for the flash. Juan trying to cover, but he's low. So if he stands up, he's very vulnerable. Nade's going to bounce off the wall and hit his own teammate. Oh, that's just poor team communication. Yeah, Ken's went for the quick flash, and while he did get it, he then also caught the nade from his teammate, and Oculus is now the only one left, and he gets absolutely swarmed on by Savior. Savage Man Esports into the top 6. Again, they've not had a top 4 finish outside of the win that they got. They're back at the start of week 1. And as it stands, they're tied first with Vega. Vega's still alive, 2 players. But it's not going to be a big game from them. And Auglis out as well, just the 4 kills. Ends up being a pretty open lobby here for the likes of Alter Ego, Shadow, and NRG. Most importantly for Shadow, 6 kills, 4 up. This is a big game from them. Their decision on that western side of the circle, back on the phase 4 pop, instead of opting to take the fight with Vega, went more towards the north side, where it was a bit more open for them to third party, be the aggressors, and it has benefited perfectly.
I do like the fact that Savage Man Esports, they're still playing with the same philosophy of like, okay, let's go for kill points. And so far, managed to collect 6 of them with still 2 players in the game. So they're on track to coming back from the downfall of last week. But let's see where the circle will head this time. Will it go down south, or will it go north, or will it go somewhere in the middle? Looks like it's going to be somewhere in the middle. And NRG, they have the circle. They also have the compound to play with.
Yeah, it's a good compound as well. It's not that easy to crash, and teams probably don't have a breadth of vehicles either to kind of just go full swarm. And there's only 2 other teams that are actually 4 alive. One of them's Shadow, they're on the north side, so they're not crashing that compound. The other one's Alter Ego, more towards the east side, 2-2 split at the moment, taking space. They might have vehicles, they might be able to get over there, close the gap. But it's not something that needs to happen right now. They've got the road definitely that they can play. They're safe for phase 6. They can hold the edge. They'll probably scout, gatekeep ATO. So right now for NRG, they're sitting pretty for easily guaranteed top 4 finish. Like, there's no world in which they don't make top 4 from here. They've got no kills, but they're getting some decent placement points.
And I believe that at some point the challenge will be for Alter Ego to cut across this road, since majority of the circle is on the left side of it. It's going to be quite a challenge for them, especially with the fact that ATO is still around the corner. But ATO, they need to move forward as well. 2 of their players still on the outside circle. And NRG will be the one to try to stop them from coming in. In fact, one of the players currently down, although he managed to heal himself back up again. So it's going to be Polang and Kia that needs to find a way to get in. And it's not the easiest of situation for them to overcome.
Yeah, but for Alter Ego, so if you look at the minimap, they're playing this 2-2 split. So they've got the south side and the north side that they're looking at. So they know that Alter Ego is about to go down. Kia's the last one. But then also what's happening on the north side might end up being a third-party potential. And so the goal for them in terms of crossing this road, getting onto this left side, will be, what's the best avenue of that? Is it going to be a third-party crash where we think we can come out on top? Is it the safer position, maybe on the south side where it's a bit more quieter? They're going to have that information eventually when they make their move. So they're not in a bad spot at all. And NRG is not going to be pushing out of that compound, clearly playing this safe, playing this passively. They would even potentially allow an Alter Ego push on the south side if they don't opt for a north side push. So I'm not worried at all about Alter Ego. Plus, they got 4 players up in a lobby that still has 3 solo individuals, as we watch one of them right now in London for Savage Man Esports. So close to a potential top 4 finish. And now 1 spot away as Kia will eventually go down for ATO. 10th spot on the leaderboard for them. And London doesn't acquire the top 4 finish. So still only 1 placing in the top 4 for Savage Men Esports, but still another good game. And I think they'd be more than happy. Averaging 10 points a game to start for week 2 is a wonderful position to be in.
Yeah, no doubt about that. But it could have been a very good need for Lun if his position was not compromised earlier on. But yeah, I guess like what you said, so far it's still pretty consistent for Savage Men Esports, and I look forward to the rest of the day from them. Now down to the top 4 teams here, and the circle will shift again. It goes towards the middle, and that means that NRG will need to leave the safe haven of their compound to come out, and they will take point in the middle of the circle.
Yeah, and so 3-1 split now for Alter Ego. Quinn will play anchor. The other 3 will then get aggressive. Quinn's just making sure that NRG aren't going to wrap in behind them, and then Quinn can then slowly push back up to the rest of the team, or just continue to play that anchor position, get the information. Certainly has now spotted that NRG have pushed out of the compound, taken center position, prior position to try and get this win. That's the goal now for NRG. You committed this long. Sunk cost fallacy. You haven't got any kills. You played passive. Well, go for the prior position. Go for the win. You're going to get the 10 points from the chicken dinner. You probably pick up maybe a 3-kill win, but that's still 13 points. So that's going to be their goal now. Empties as the solo for Vega just will hide for as long as possible and hope that he ends up finishing second at best. He's certainly not going to win this game, but I say that and I got to be careful because funnier things have happened in PUBG.
Yeah, I mean, anything can happen, right? So who knows? Who knows? Got to keep an eye on that. But we're keeping an eye on the Kamals as well. He's taking damage here, and he has to leave his position. But, yeah, ain't happening. Too bad, too bad. I would have wanted to see that happen, but yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, and this is now NRG's game to lose. Well, they'd have to throw it. Yeah, they even have a third-party chance. Alter Ego and Shadow on the north side of the circle are going to go battling. NRG will push over. They're getting aggressive for the first time. This is actually really well played from NRG. Good example of just knowing when to get aggressive. You've been passive. You've played the compound. You've copped a couple of circle feeds. That's fine. But guess what? There's 2 other teams left. They're fighting. Push out. Get aggressive. We've already got a little hill that we can play off. And now it's just a battle for seconds. Setsuna and Jesse trying to get that for Shadow Esport. Lovely knockdown onto Trick. Jesse then won his battle against Samoy, and it leaves just 2 up each, 1-1. It will, though, be Shadow that go out in 3rd place. Alter Ego will snatch 2nd, and it is a 4 versus 1 now in favor for NRG, who are on the verge of picking up a 6-kill win. God XP and Crazy Dog going nuts in the 3rd party, and they finally close it out. A solid game for NRG. You could sit back, you can